everybody. It's Linda G. It's the end of my day, and one of my favorite people, Andre, is here.
Hi, everyone.
He was just giving me some good news. Go ahead. We were talking about, people were asking about, well, people are saying on these questions that the Supreme Court scares them.
It's the Supreme Court, which?
Scares them, that the Supreme Court scares them.
Well, the Supreme Court is pretty scary, and there's no doubt that there's definitely some corruption in there. It's pretty obvious. Alito, Thomas, and people know, for instance, that in the past they made fast decisions, and then they're sitting on this thing for like 100 and how many days, that they've known. They're clearly stalling.
They've already handed him the golden key.
Exactly. However, the problem is, unless you think, and some people think this, by the way, they think that the Supreme Court might not even make a ruling and say, we're not going to tell you whether or not he's immune. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to say something. And the problem is, they can't really say he's immune, because that's bizarre, because they already, in fact, remember when they were talking, this is where the legal minds are really clever. They had heard them discussing, and they said, well, they're obviously not going to give him immunity, but they want to send it back. Sending it back is not good for Trump. It's not good at all. If they say, okay, Judge Chutkan, you got to figure out more specifically what is a private act, what is a official act. By the way, I'm sorry, but a monkey could figure that out. It's not that complicated. But the problem is, you do that and you open the door to serious trouble. And because right now, the terrain is not good for this guy. It's just not good. End of story. Like this thing with the debate, it's not a good time. I would have said to him, no, don't. Wait till later in the summer, if at all. It's just a bad idea, right?
Right.
So he's going to be debating next week. It's not good territory. You expose yourself too much. And the same thing, when planetary energies are hard, there's no difference between, you might get lucky here and there, but mostly they all go in the same direction. So if you're expecting help from someone, they turn you down or they don't give you quite what you want. And then you go into a bit later after that, he's got to face down the sentencing, which, by the way this guy has behaved, he's totally telling the judge, slap me hard, because he's no remorse. Not only no remorse, he's going out of his way to insult the judge. What is that judge going to do? He's got to say, well, you're like the worst possible criminal here. You have no remorse. As far as you're concerned, everything we did here is for nothing. So then my sense is that he's going to get something. Now, he's not going to get as much as people want. This is the problem that always happens, right? Democrats will say, oh, he should get thrown in jail and throw away the key. No, that's also not going to happen. But this whole territory that he's in, not a good scene right now.
And he's desperately trying to get them to overturn that, where he can't speak about it. He wants that overturned before he talks on stage. That might even be one of the reasons he doesn't do the debate, because his immunity thing, not immunity, what I'm saying, that, he wants them to get rid of the,
yeah, but do you see that? Because I don't.
The gag order. No, he went to a higher court and they said no.
No. I mean, first of all, here's the other thing. Now, people that say, well, he's not going to debate. I think we're a little past that. If he backs out now for any reason, I can just see the ads. He's chicken, he's weak. Not a good idea. So he's put himself in a corner. I don't see how he does that. And so he goes in. Now he can complain later and say, it was a ripoff. Look what they made me do. I couldn't say what I really meant. Too late. It'll be in the public. By the way, do you hear Fox? They're going on and on about how Biden is going to be all jacked up.
I know. He refused a drug test. So that proves that he's going to be on drugs.
Yeah, but I think, now Hannity's saying, well, he'll be caffeinated. Though the last time I looked, caffeination, you just go to Starbucks. What's the problem with that? So, I mean.
But I think the Biden team said, well, we'll do one if he does one, if Trump does one, and he refused.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's the other thing, by the way, this guy, it's such an obvious thing. Everything from Trump is projection or confession. If he's saying to you that we need a drug test, he's the one using cocaine probably. He's the one using these stimulants, because he always assumes everyone does things like he does, or he just assumes that I'll attack him from that angle, right? But regardless, bottom line, the debate is happening. I look at the day of the debate. The thing that is most interesting is the post-debate hours and into the next day is really bad for Trump. Why? Tell me.
Because everybody's saying it was terrible.
Well, I wouldn't like that. That's why I'm saying, as an astrologer, I would say no, not that day. And really, the whole territory sucks. Wait till maybe August
Well,
later. That's what I would have told him. But I'm not his astrologer. And if I were, I wouldn't tell him because I don't like him. But that's a separate. Maybe if I were his astrologer, I would give him the wrong date and then resign and say I made a mistake. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
yeah, no, it's and by the way, the other thing too is at the time of the debate, the lunar position is actually very good for Biden. It's in a really nice spot because it makes an angle right to his Jupiter. That's choice. That's what you want. You want, if you want to look good in front of the public, you're looking for the Jupiter angle, right? It's not terrible for Trump at the time of the debate, but it's much worse in the hours following the debate. And the problem for him not being that bad is that Trump, when he gets a good angle happening, he gets careless, right? Because he's the type of person that doesn't have good boundaries. So he'll get extra brash, say something stupid, and then later regret it. So the strength of that angle, I think, gets nullified for Trump. That's how I'm understanding it, particularly in light of what follows, because what follows is not good. I've seen that pattern in his chart many, many times. Those early degrees of cardinal that follow later that night and into the overnight, like he probably won't sleep all night that night, and he'll be truthing, that thing that he does where he's sending texts with caps,
So
complaining.
you do think he'll show though?
I would be amazed if he didn't at this stage, because now it's more of the optics are terrible if he quits, because
Oh, it's really bad.
yeah, it's really bad. Exactly.
But the thing is, they're having a hard time getting him to work with them. They're trying to, like he did before. He thinks he's Joe. I can work off the cuff and nobody will complain.
Yeah, but that's the way he is, though. Trump doesn't. From what I hear, when he was being trained in 2020, they couldn't get him to focus either. He doesn't know how to focus. That's the whole point. Everything with him is ad lib, and I'm confident. I'll just say I'll say the right thing. And he always thinks the solution to everything is more Trump. No, it isn't. The solution, in fact, right now, Biden wants to get him out there as much as possible because he's saying so many asinine things, and he has a lot of really difficult things to answer. He's going to have to do a lot of dancing because they're going to ask him, hey, you're the guy that brought in Roe v. Wade. I'll give you the floor. I would even give him my time. Many times I'd say, no, okay, you want my 2 minutes? Keep talking, right? That's why I think Biden preferred the coin toss. He chose the right side of the room and he said, you can have the last word, because he wants the public to be left with that impression. Trump talking, because,
isn't that the truth?
Like, Trump is not allowed to bring in, they both have to just say it. They have to talk. And Trump's, major weakness is he thinks when he opens his mouth, he's always doing something good. No, you're not. For the overall public, you're damaging yourself. And this is now particularly knowing where the planets are. I would warn even a good person, be careful. Be careful. The territory is dicey. So go in there, be really measured, don't get out of your lane. Right. This guy gets out of his lane every 12 seconds. That's how he is. So,
and all Biden has to do is drop a little word like felon and he'll go crazy.
Yeah, no. And they're doing it in ads already. They're doing it in ads. And this is the thing that I don't know what Biden's strategy is. I would push back really, really hard and say, where do you get off saying that, that I had something to do with this? What kind of a thing do we think we live in? A jury of your peers convicted you because they must have thought you had done something. 34-0. Where is the fix here? Where? They're always talking like they're always going on about, oh, you're going to charge me with what? You have to have evidence to win a case, to be convicted of something. Like my son was. His son was convicted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if I'm this, by the way, these Republicans are amazing. They, on the one hand, say Biden is this sleepy, dopey, doesn't know what he's doing, he's stupid, and he's also this master manipulator, that controls everything. Like, which is it?
And he's on
It's amazing.
cocaine.
Yeah, he's on cocaine. Exactly. Yeah.
So, Steve Bannon is desperate. He wants to go to the Supreme Court to prevent him from going to jail. My psychic interpretation, I don't know if you've looked at his chart, but I saw that even the Supreme Court doing this, like, yeah, we don't have time for that.
Well, he's not in good territory. So he's, in fact, to me, he's one of those people that are counting desperately on a MAGA win. And when it doesn't happen, he's got a major problem going into next year. All these people are badly exposed. They're gambling on something that is far from assured. Have you noticed that lately Trump is now really upset because Fox did a poll showing Biden is ahead now, right? First time since last fall. So that's the way things are moving. And of course, Trump's idea is, why are you showing that poll? And Fox is still honest enough to show the poll, right? So you're gambling big time, and the guy you're backing is a lame horse. I'm sorry. He's just a lame horse, and he's losing more and more energy if you watch
And
him.
he's making deals with men with money. Like, he made 143 million, but two donations were 50 million apiece from very rich men. So really, he made as much as Biden made, but he's making these backroom deals, and it's not helping the regular Joe Blow out in the street. Why would they vote for him when he's making deals with these guys? There's not enough rich people to make Trump win.
Yeah, no, that's the whole point. Yeah, I mean, it's a game of numbers, and still, though, the biggest topic to throw in his face is, which I'm sure Jake Tapper will bring it up, I'm sure. But if he doesn't bring it up, then Biden should bring it up, is just explain the situation with women's rights. Tell me how that works. I'll let you talk. Take my 2 minutes, take your 2 minutes. You can talk for 4 minutes straight. Go ahead. Tell us how that's going to work, right?
And
then,
he loves to say, I'm the one that stopped. And people, Nancy Mace was on The View. I didn't watch it, but they were showing a clip. And she's talking, well, you can still have an abortion. Like, you can go to California, or you can go to, like, people have the money to fly places, all the way up to 9 months. And boy, Whoopi Goldberg was so pissed when she said, that is such a bunch of crock. There's no, I was an L&D nurse for 20 years. I never, ever saw a full-born birth and the doctor kills the baby. He would be out on cuffs if that happened.
Yeah, no, and it's just the thing that you see that he'll try. I hope that Biden, if Trump does his typical exaggeration, making up stuff, call him out on the spot and say, that's moronic. That's your usual. You just make up stuff. This is your game.
Fortunately,
right?
They're going to shut down the microphone. So,
well, that too. Yeah, right. So, I mean, like, in other words, you have an opportunity for 2 minutes straight, you can insult the guy, which is what I would do. I would be looking for ways to get under his skin so that when he gets his 2 minutes,
that's all he does is screaming. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Velda said, will Bannon have a breakdown in jail? Well, we can't wish it. He had a breakdown when Trump fired him. He cried like a baby.
Okay, that I didn't hear. All I know is that it's not good territory for Bannon. I mean, look, if it were, then he wouldn't be now about to go into jail, right? So,
yeah.
And as far as the Supreme Court, what you say makes sense, because I've seen the Supreme Court, as bad as they are. Even today, I was checking the headlines, and they don't give every single thing to the MAGA people. They give one thing and they take away another. And there's no incentive for them to keep Bannon out of jail. What's the incentive?
Yeah, no. And they're ending right now, so I can see them doing this. Like, get out of our way. Like, he's a fly. He's pesky.
Yeah, exactly. So
user wants to know, when will Jack Smith catch a break instead of hitting a brick wall in Cannon's case?
Jack Smith's point is about 5-6 weeks from now, when we go into late July and into early August. That's a really good period, right? Which makes me a little suspicious, because I wonder if that's linked to the January 6th case, somehow. Because I think with the other case, the documents case, my feeling is that she's eventually going to get in trouble, but do you see her getting in trouble this year? Because
I
you
don't know,
even
but
though-
I see her being taken off of it.
right. But the question is when, and even, today
He
there were
can even do
articles.
another one. There was files in Bedminster. He can change and do that one instead.
Yeah, well, if the Supreme Court decision does something to not necessarily allow the January 6th case to go to court, but just to become more public, Trump is going to hate that. He's just going to totally hate that, because if you think of Trump's game is always the same. He wants to control what is in the airwaves, in the news. And what he never wants is for his laundry to be aired. And that's what will happen. If can you imagine if Chutkan calls Bill Barr to testify, Mike Pence? That's a big problem,
Oh,
because
yeah.
those guys are not going to go to jail for you.
Nope.
Not going to do that
Nope.
for you. So then it's a big problem, right? And the answer to Jack Smith, he needs Jupiter assistance, and Jupiter assistance comes.
It's coming the end of July, which we're
End of
almost
July.
in the month of July.
Yeah, we're not too far away. Yeah, exactly. And by the way,
Well-
July is the whole month, because Trump goes from a really bad early July to just as bad later, because there are other stations happening middle of the month, end of the month, so it's the whole thing is bad.
And how about, does the Florida courts take a summer break or no?
I don't know. Oh, you mean for Canada?
Like the Supreme Court is off until August or September.
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure someone will put it in the comments that they know how that works, but this
Yeah.
Supreme Court, yeah, I think they,
Well, she may decide, I decided he was illegally put in, and then he triples back and then goes to the 11th Circuit.
Mhm.
And then the 11th Circuit says, woman, you're out to lunch. They tried to talk to her and told her she
Yeah.
should recuse herself, and she refused.
Yeah, well, she refused from judges, and no, she's a true believer. I think this woman is she's enthralled with Trump. The thing with her, though, is that for a while there, I had the totally wrong day. Then I found that date that I think is correct, because someone told me that they had seen voter records that gave the February 6, 1981. Then I found another place where an astrologer said it was February 1st, 1981. So I'm still digging to make sure which is it here, because they're quite different. I think February 6th is correct, because it lines up best with this thing that she's doing for Trump, really trying to assist him. And
Well, and
so-
then also he put the carrot over her face. He told her he was going to give her a justice, being on
Yeah.
the Supreme Court.
yeah, well, putting her on the Supreme Court is almost as bad as remember when George W. Bush wanted to put his cleaning lady as the Supreme Court? Remember that?
Are you serious?
Don't you remember back in the Bush years? I think her name was, I can't remember her name, but
This
she
is real?
announced it. Yeah, no, he announced, I want to put this woman, and people said, in fact, even Ann Coulter said, are you crazy? And Ann Coulter is really, really
Well,
Republican.
she can't stand Trump.
Well, I remember that there was such an upset that he pulled it back, right? But he was nominating a really unqualified person to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, did she have any history with?
No, she was like someone that had no belonging there. Now, Eileen Cannon is a judge, but the Supreme Court, you need to drink a lot of beer for one, and things like that.
And you need to be able to write, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't remember that. This is the first George, right? George W.
No, the second George W. George W. around, I think it was his second term when he said this, but he recognized right away, that he had made a mistake and he pulled back. Because of his Trump, and you accuse him of a mistake, he just doubles down and does it even more,
So the answer to the question on our Jack is probably by the end of July, he starts looking better.
Yeah, and sometimes the way that works is that you start seeing the flow as we go into July. So even if the exact aspect is later in the month, you can feel it moving in, and becoming better. Whereas in the spring, it was harder, as
Yeah.
we all found out.
AJOP says something. Are these indicators in birth charts that are consistent with dead dates, also known as exit points? So I think you talked about that one time. sometimes you can see when you've known somebody died, they might have more than one exit point.
Yeah, no, look, astrologers, well, me for sure, and I'm sure any astrologer that's done it for any length of time, death charts are great learning charts because you can see something that just happened that is a major change, right? You've gone from one realm to another. But when people ask, well, can you see the death date? There are multiple dates. And so, for example, if you see really challenging planets, the younger you are, the less likely that's going to be death. But if you have that and you have a disease and you're older and so forth, the odds start to go up. It's almost like I see life like a casino, and you got to play the odds, right? So like people will say, I smoke because I have an uncle who smoked till he was 99 and he never died of lung cancer. I know, but statistically, if you smoke, you're more likely to die of lung cancer. It's up to you. The odds are against you. So to me, play the odds. It's a smarter way to do things. And it's the same with astrology points. At certain ages, much more threatening. Like, a great example is Colin Powell had a death aspect in his 40s that he turned into a big career change. It was the change from military to civilian. He became Secretary of State, very successful. Then he had a similar thing happen in his 80s when he was becoming really sick. That was signaling he was on his way out, right? So
Okay.
it's a different, it's like that.
Now, Putin and Kim Jong-un, did you take a look at their charts? It feels like it's a bunch of blowing in the wind.
Well, the thing that is interesting about Putin and Kim Jong-un, because they're cardinal signs. Putin is a Libra and Kim Jong-un is a Capricorn. And what I know is that by all accounts, they're holding a weak position, right? The byline on Putin is he's trying desperately to appear like he's got allies because he's so isolated and so forth, right? But where the planets are going in the middle of the decade is not good for these guys. So that's why they can hang on, they can keep things going. But when we go into 25, 26, their energy goes down. It doesn't go up, it goes down. It's just not a good plan. Same with Elon Musk, and these are people that they're constantly breaking through barriers. They just need Saturn to come in and put a check on them, right? Ordinarily, Saturn doesn't have to push you back that much. But when you behave in this way, it'll check you more. And Putin isn't just Libra. He's got a ton of planets in Libra, right? So that's a major siege when you have Saturn on the other end like that, challenging. Okay. So you just got to be patient and realize that in geopolitics, you can't go like that and make things change. Yeah, the momentum is going against them, but it'll take a while, right?
Now, the moon is going to be in Capricorn coming up today. Is tonight the full moon?
The moon entered Capricorn at about an hour, and like right now, you and I are speaking. It's a full moon right now, really full. Okay. It's precisely.
It's called the strawberry moon.
I don't know about. Is that what it is?
That's what
raspberry moon, strawberry moon. Is there a blueberry moon?
I don't know. There's a pancake moon. But like for Virgos, how does that affect? Is that a good sign for Virgos, Capricorn?
For Virgos, it's quite good. But it's more. You have to be careful with those questions. People are always asking those questions, and all it takes is, say you're a Virgo, so that's good. Moon's in Capricorn. But then if you have planets in early Aries, early Libra, early Cancer, early Capricorn, it might disturb you a little more, a moon like that. But overall, yeah, it's good. The Capricorn moon, Earth signs do better when the moon is in Earth, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, because you're a Capricorn, right?
Yeah, I am.
So it should work good with you.
Yeah, right now I feel pretty good. The thing with the full moon is that I've said this so many times, and it's that, and I don't know if you feel this way, but what I notice when the moon is full is that I feel sharper and more awake, but I'm also more prone to a crash at some point. I'll have a point where the energy really drops, or for example, the thing about not sleeping on a full moon, you just wake up and then
you'll be wide awake,
wide awake, and then you have to catch up the next day, because when that happens, you feel really high, and then you feel a period where it just drops because the body catches up and you don't feel as good. So full moons have more of that, oscillating type of pattern to them. Yeah.
Brenda says, afternoon, beautiful souls. Andre, can you give us a general energy read for the next 3 months? I
The
know
next
we
3
have
months.
some retrogrades.
Well, the next 3 months, well, July is a pretty wild month. July is wild because there are multiple stations. And in astrology, if you just look for stations, you often get all the action. In fact, I'll see an event that happens, whatever it is, and I go, okay, what was stationing? And I start working off that because that's the most intense planet. So July is a lot of stuff is going to happen. Think about it. We're waiting on the sentencing. There's a convention. There's what the Supreme Court might say, which takes it into July. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of July. Probably be a follow-up to that, but it's a really intense month. In August, by the time you get into the end of August, the Democratic Convention also has very, very intense. There's a full moon with Uranus around. So I would say expect a number of shocks during July and August. Yeah, things that you go, wow, I didn't think that was going to happen type stuff. So put on your seatbelt, because it's going to have that feeling.
I wanted to tell you too, I noticed on Threads, I think, they're showing the Russians going into a regular grocery store. It'd be like here where I live, going into Safeway, taking their food. Just the soldiers are just ransacking and taking all the food, and all the customers were standing to the side. They couldn't move. They just stood there, and the soldiers are just emptying the store out.
Well, probably Putin gave them free reign with that because he's pretty desperate. I know that he's they were putting in convicts. They need more and more soldiers, right? And that's one of the things I've heard you say this before about how the mothers start to get angry. This is the thing when the planets switch, that's when you start getting heavy resistance. But this could mean though that Putin could easily get to go another year without any serious repercussion, till the summer of 25, very possible because Jupiter's in Gemini, that's very good for Libra. Saturn doesn't switch signs till June, July, August of next year, when I think we're going to see at least the first part of that kind of thing. So
but Saturn, it doesn't have to be right. It can be right before it switches.
It can
come before.
It can, yeah, it can, but also when a person is getting Jupiter protection simultaneously, it tends to extend the grace period, right? But even so, when you see the movement going in that direction, it's not good. The other thing, remember we said this in a previous one. This is a really important one because my namesake, the French guy, he really knew how to do world astrology. And the thing that he picked up on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, that is so brilliant because Saturn-Neptune conjoined in 17 when there was the Russian Revolution. They conjoined in 52 when Stalin died, and they conjoined in the late 80s when the country kind of fell apart, right? Well, we're getting another conjunction next year and the year after. They are not well positioned to do anything great the way he thinks. We're going to restore the Russian Empire. I don't see that. Do you? Because I just don't see it. I don't see it. I see a cutting back and having to be realistic about their possibilities and what they can do, and much, much less than what his intention was. I don't know, though, if that Ukraine will get all their land back. That I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but that he's not going to get some big victory, that I can tell you.
Oh, yeah, especially after we vote in November and he knows Trump's not there for him.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, that the odds start to, because then it means that the U.S. government can freely provide more and more assistance, and none of that is helpful to him.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, have you taken a look-see at Amy Coney Barrett? She's saying some things that are making sense, believe it or not. I still don't trust her. But...
Yeah, I haven't looked at her chart in a while, but I know what you mean. She's pushing back on Clarence, right? Isn't that the thing we've heard?
Yeah, she said a lot of this precedents, like the Second Amendment, that's not written in stone. Like she was one of the ones that said, well, 8 of them said that people that do domestic violence can't own a gun. Thomas was the only one said, you're taking away their Second Amendment rights. Poor policemen. You know how many policemen have been killed by spouses that just shoot them down when they come to the house?
Well, and that ruling, I mean, the only thing I can think of that makes even the slightest sense is that they don't want, they're really against presidents using executive orders to set up legislation or set up rules. They wanted to go through the Congress. So Trump, in response to a horrible, killing, remember that guy used the bump stocks and killed a bunch of people. He brought it in. Biden left it in place because it's the common sense thing to do. And in steps, Alito to inform us that knowing when you hold the finger, it's not really automatic. Like the man, I mean, you must think we're all stupid. I mean, how would you like, I'd like you to be outside the building while some assassin starts to shoot, and then we can quibble about whether or not the finger was moving more slowly or more quickly. So she's entirely correct. The other thing with Amy Coney Barrett is that being a woman, this kind of thing is always a threat to Trump. He's in this period where women are his demise on multiple levels, like women voting against him, women catching up to him, with court charges. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if she turns out to be the rebel in the court. If you give her
That's what
enough
I'm
time,
feeling. That's what
yeah,
I'm
that you could
feeling.
turn out to be, and all of a sudden he'll really be in a rage because he'll think you should be loyal to me, and she doesn't have to be loyal to anybody. Once they
Well,
get their
remember
ticket.
when the court was, even Kavanaugh, they wouldn't hear Trump's cases on the vote being stolen?
Mhm.
He went up 64 times, said, nope, 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 he had no proof. He was so furious, he talked trash about Kavanaugh. He was begging me, he this, he that. I have stuff on Kavanaugh. If I was to say right now, it would ruin him.
I mean, Kavanaugh should just have said, should have gone public and said, Mr. Trump, have you never lied to someone in order to get something? Like you said something that you knew was, and then you basically did what you wanted to do. So how did that feel? I mean, honestly, please, it's so ridiculous.
A Chorister said, what does being born at 29 degrees of one sun sign mean?
Well, it means you're born at 29 degrees. It means that really the thing that it most means is you track those degrees to where the planets are today. That's really the most important thing to focus on. The rest is, they're interesting stories. Like some people say, if you're born near the end of the sign, it makes you
Yeah, he just said that.
soul,
And June 21st birthday is Gemini. Others say it's Cancer.
Well, that you can find out. You can go online, enter your data in lots of places. Like there's a place called AstroSeek, Astro-Seek. They have really good astro clocks. You enter the data, and whatever you get is what you are. I am not in the camp that says if you are born at 29, close to the end, that you're really the next sign. No, you're not. It's just that what happens is people will be born near the end of a sign and have a planet in the next sign. And that's why they do that. Like, for instance, you are a Virgo, but you have planets in Libra, right? So you could say, well, I'm kind of like a Virgo and a Libra, which is the next sign. In fact, you have planets in the one before. You have Leo, Virgo, Libra.
Yeah.
So you could start arguing, I see the Leo in you. The Leo in you is the confident self, or like how you were, you're interested in doing comedy and you have a comedic thing. That's
and
Leo.
I got a big ass head. Leos have a big ass head.
Yeah, they look like lions.
You can land a plane on my forehead, I swear to God.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but that's the point. The point is that because you have planets in the adjacent signs, you can then say, well, see, my sun is at 29. I'm really like the next sign. No, there's a better explanation. And that's what astrologers are always doing, is gauging what is the real reason for a certain thing. But in the end, you track your degrees when they're active, right? That's the key, when planets are affecting those degrees.
So I wanted to wish, say prayers for Arkansas. I hate to do prayers and well-being because a bunch of people were shot in a grocery store in Arkansas. Two people have died today.
Oh, Jesus.
For what? In Arkansas, that's a red state.
Well, listen.
And they said it was militia type stuff.
Red states, the irony about red states is that they're always complaining about the blue states, but I keep reading that the crime is worse in red states. And, for instance, they're always on about, MTG keeps saying, porn. Apparently porn, the worst place is Alabama. So then, like, what are we talking about here? I mean, why doesn't MTG call the governor of Alabama and say, hey, introduce some, strict laws. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but this happens a lot with that in the red states, you get some of the worst tragedies. But here's another thing. The Saturn going into Aries, this was something my colleague, Patrick Watson, the astrologer, he did his research and he picked it up. It's really good. When Saturn is in Aries, you get gun legislation, right? But that's think about that, right? So for that to be the case, you likely need a Democratic government because Republicans are not going to do that. No.
When is Saturn going into Aries?
Next year.
Okay.
Next year, the year after that, like that would be the first term period.
Well,
right?
I see a lot of the nonsense that's going on behind closed doors with these people thinking that they're talking for the people. They're not talking for nobody. They're only talking for themselves. But I
Yeah.
see them being scattered and dismissed. People,
Yeah.
like when the whole Trump thing goes, it's like, ew, just get away from us.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, everything is in cycles. I'll be honest. I didn't think Trump would have lasted this long, but he has. And well, partly the other thing about Trump is that he always manages to make things worse for himself. Like in reality, when you think about it, man, this guy, think about if he had just stopped in 20 after losing, he'd be in a pretty good place now.
Oh yeah.
Instead now he's gambling with everything. And man, it's pretty serious stuff, right? You're gambling on
Mr.
something that-
Billionaire begging for money.
Yeah, well, right. But I mean, not only that, you're also in a place where, yes, I know the polls are close. You're not going to get, you won't even get 55-45. I think an amazing would be 53-47, but he's on the wrong side of that. For sure, he's on the wrong side of that,
Yeah.
right? And he's dealing with really difficult things. There is no way out of this women thing, and the Supreme Court did this, right? They said, let's eliminate it. Really bad idea.
That was waking the sleeping giant. I knew
Exactly.
the minute I heard that was Biden's win.
Right, but that's what Trump has to carry. Also, people like him, they need the economy to be bad. The economy is not that bad. It's doing pretty well.
They said the economy, we're going into a depression. And then Maria Bartolello, or whatever her name is, saying bread's $13 a loaf.
Oh,
It's not.
Come on. It's just,
I
by the
didn't
way,
see no bread. It can be up to $5, but no, I never saw no $13.
no, and the thing is that what happened there is this is statistical. You can look it up. The wages rose by actually more than inflation. People have a little more money now than they had before to spend, right? But people never like high prices, right? So the more simple-minded you are, the more you'll say, well, this used to cost $3 and now it costs $4. I don't like that.
Yeah, but people aren't buying the stuff that costs more money. So that's why all these bigwigs all of a sudden realize, oops, nobody's buying our stuff, so they're bringing the prices back down.
Well, they're dropping the prices, yeah. So, but the point being that the economy is not helping him, right? So to people that say, this guy is so lucky, no, he's not. Just think back. Getting COVID was a majorly unlucky thing because he's such a goofball. He can't manage, he can't manage a paper bag, much less an entire country. It was a really hard thing for him because he's so bad at managing. And now he would love to have things to talk about, like the economy's cratering, he can't. He can say things, but...
Oh, but he says it anyway because he thinks people will believe his lie.
Yeah, he does. But the problem is that he says...
Biden is the worst president ever.
I know, the worst president in history. I know, and Biden is going to say, yeah, I know, kind of like infrastructure, right? It used to be you were going to do infrastructure, but it had to be me that would do the infrastructure.
And Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Basically, I would just say to him, you just yap your mouth, you talk. He says. Doing things, that's not it. Just talk, right? Well, we're past the talk here. So, not to mention that, as I say, this guy, the way in, I hope Biden does it. Just insult him. Get under his skin, be brazen about it. Let him deal with it because he'll blow a gasket. Guaranteed.
I'm even wondering if he shows what I was feeling it was teeter-tottering. I almost feel his own people don't want him to show because he won't practice with them. But I'm wondering if he'll get so pissed off he leaves. He walks off.
All I can tell you is the territory is not good. So
I'm going to tell you right now, I'll have my pom-poms. I'll be
away. fill it in. Like to me, stay, leave, do whatever you like. You're in dicey territory. So the odds of something going wrong are really up, right?
Okay,
And I don't know how he gets out of it now. Honestly, it's too late from
I
what
know.
I think it's too late. And you know, people should also realize why did he accept the debate term so quickly? If he's as far ahead as he says he is, why would you debate Biden? Why? I mean, he didn't debate anybody when he was in the
No.
primary, right?
Nope.
So I'm pretty sure they know they need to, you know, get the numbers, but he's not in shape to do this. And the other thing too is that this thing with his health. I think we're seeing the health decline before our very eyes because
Oh, yeah.
he's forgetting things. He is talking more and more nonsense. That whole story about the sharks and the
Battery.
electricity and the boat, and then he goes off on another tangent. And you know, every day I see a thing. He just did another one. He just did another one. And then you see Fox trying to counteract it by repeating that Biden is senile and this and that, which then the problem with that is when Biden shows up after having an espresso, he's going to be all awake. And Biden knows his policy. Be careful with Biden. He is far from stupid. The man is very experienced. He knows his stuff, and he's going
Way
to
more
call God on it.
experience than Trump.
Oh.
And he's got a great vice president. Is her cards, or not her cards, is her
Yeah.
side still looking good?
Well, remember that we said this, that one of the reasons I feel really optimistic is that Kamala is, yeah, her energy going into the election period is really good. And that helps a lot because having on a team someone that, you know, is doing well, it doesn't just rub off on you. Astrologically, it's what you want. You know, you don't want someone who is going to be faltering because then you have to wear that, right? And
Right,
literally,
exactly.
right? So yeah, so that to me is a major asset to the campaign. And my feeling is, you tell me if not, but I think she's going to be talking up the women's rights issue a lot. She's
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
be-
she's already starting. Yeah,
yeah, right.
they're,
So,
they've got their points. They know what they're doing.
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
my friend. Well, it was wonderful talking to you.
Likewise, always fun.
I
So,
was hoping we'd get a thing on the immunity. I was feeling an announcement would be made today, but I guess it was the gun thing.
yeah, they brought that up, and but apparently, isn't it? I think it could even go into July, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, in a way, ideally, the way you would, the stations are right at the end of June and right at the beginning of July, and then around the convention, it's really dicey. All of that is very dicey for Trump. So
Okay,
announce it sooner, announce it a bit later. You know, who
whatever.
cares? Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if they don't have another be able to do the January 6th. He's gonna lose anyway. I don't care.
No, I realize that. But the thing is that this guy's, you know, people are always talking about he gets away with everything. This is really rough territory, man. It's not just about losing. It's like being really embarrassed and being really humiliated. It's not just a simple thing. There's too much going on in there. And he is showing it because sometimes people are so controlled, they're able to offset the cycles. He's really bad. He's declining. So, you know,
This is
just,
great news.
yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, everybody, and next week I'll be on your show.
Bye, everyone. Have a great
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.
Enjoy the
Cheers.
full moon.
So that was fun. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on.